These 8 roulette strategies can significantly increase your win rate and help you profit at the table. Without further ado, let's get started. First on today's list is martingale. Martingale is the most famous strategy because it is very simple. All you need to do is that when you lose, you double your bet and continue doing so until you win. When you win, you return to the starting bet. For example, you bet $10 and lost. That means the next bet must be $20. If you lose again, then you go to $40, and if you win, you return to the starting bet of $10. The advantage of this strategy is that it is simple and quickly covers losses, but the risk is that a long losing streak can quickly increase your bet and eat your bankroll. One of the variations of this strategy is the grand martingale, and it is very similar to the normal martingale. However, when you lose, you not only double the bet, but also add the starting bet. For example, your starting bet is $1 and you lost. That means your next bet is $3, and if you lose again, the bet is $7. But if you win, you return to $1. Another variation of the normal martingale strategy is the reverse martingale, and it is completely the opposite of the original strategy. In this strategy, you don't double the bet when you lose, but when you win. And when you lose, you return to the starting bet and start again. The second strategy is la bouchère. La bouchère strategy may sound a bit complicated, but when you understand it, you will see that it is actually very simple. The main idea is to choose a number as your goal and then split that number into smaller numbers whose total equals that goal. For example, if your goal is 20, you can split it in different ways, and we will use the sequence 2, 3, 3, 5, 7, whose sum is 20. Then you add the first and the last number in the sequence, and that is your bet. If you win, you remove those two numbers and continue with the remaining ones. But if you lose, the amount you bet is added to the end of the sequence as a new number, and then you again add the first and last number and continue playing. When you manage to remove all the numbers from the sequence, you have reached your goal, and then you choose a new goal and start again. The third strategy on today's list is d'Alembert. D'Alembert is a strategy that works best on even money bets, and it is very simple. All you need to do is that when you lose, you increase the next bet by 1 unit, and when you win, you decrease the next bet by 1 unit. For example, if you start with $5 and you lose, the next bet is $10. If you lose again, the next bet is $15. And if you win, you go back to $10. The next strategy is Andrucci. In the Andrucci strategy, you bet on so-called hot numbers, which means numbers that appear more often. At the beginning, you watch the roulette for 30 to 50 spins and write down which numbers appear the most. After that, you bet directly on those numbers. It is recommended not to bet on more than 10 numbers, and ideally, you should choose the 2 to 3 most common ones. For the next 30 spins, you place bets only on those numbers, and after that, you change the list with new hot numbers. This strategy is very risky because hot numbers are not any kind of guarantee. The fifth strategy on today's list is Fibonacci. The Fibonacci strategy uses the Fibonacci number sequence. When you lose, you increase your bet to the next number in the sequence. And when you win, you move 2 numbers back in the sequence. For example, you start with $1. If you lose, you bet $1 again. If you lose again, the next bet is $2, then $3, then $5. When you finally win, you go 2 steps back in the sequence and continue from there. The next one is the James Bond strategy. In the James Bond strategy, the numbers you bet on are decided in advance. You place 70% of your total bet on numbers from 19 to 36, 25% on numbers from 13 to 18, and 5% on 0. For example, if your total bet is $200, you place $140 on 19 to 36, $50 on 13 to 18, and $10 on 0. The payouts in this example can be seen on the screen. Also, the starting bet doesn't have to be $200. It can be any amount. It is just important that you keep it the same the whole time and use the same percentages as mentioned earlier. The seventh strategy is Paroli. Paroli is the same strategy as reverse martingale. The only difference is that after 3 wins in a row, you return to the starting bet and start again. The last strategy on today's list is Oscar's Grind. Oscar's Grind is a strategy that focuses on slow and controlled profit. The goal is to make only 1 unit of profit in 1 cycle. When you lose, you keep the bet the same, and when you win, you increase the next bet by 1 unit and continue like that until you are in profit of 1 unit. For example, you start with $10 and lose. The next bet is again $10. If you win this time, you go to $20. If you lose, you stay at $20. And if you win, you will be in profit and return to the starting bet.